According to the Washington Post, 187,000 students have been exposed to gun violence at school since Columbine in 1999. At least 193 primary and secondary schools have been affected, as well as all of the college campuses that have also been affected. As I've spent several days researching the horrible and permanent effects of gun violence and school shootings, I now ask you, the audience, what price do we put on human life? School gun violence has been a major issue, especially in the last 2 decades. If schools were to enforce and invest in more security, then surely the number of school shootings would at least decrease, if not cease altogether. Today, I will talk to you about an ongoing problem with gun violence in schools, and I will also provide you with a few ideas that I've brainstormed on how we can decrease those numbers. I will first provide you with a brief background of 2 previous school shootings, Columbine and Santa Fe. Then I will tell you about some solutions that I've thought of that could greatly reduce those numbers. Let's start by talking about Columbine High School. Over the last 2 decades, almost 200 schools from 36 different states have experienced gun violence during school hours. The first major school gun massacre occurred at Columbine High School in Colorado in 1999. Little did we know that this haunting event would start an epidemic of school shootings in the future. According to the Washington Post, the shooters, Eric Harris and Dylan Klebold, both attended Columbine High School, but it appears that they did not necessarily fit in. Harris and Klebold admired Marilyn Manson, worshipped goths called the Trenchcoat Mafia. They were very racist, hated jocks, and chose to do their massacre on April 20th because it was Hitler's birthday. So it is easy to tell that these teenagers were not just normal, everyday high school students. The two did not just shoot the victims. They laughed and hollered as they were shooting the innocent high school kids and staff members as if they were having the time of their lives. After the massacre, Harris and Klebold ended their rampage as they turned the weapons on themselves and committed suicide. The next event we will discuss is the most recent school shooting that occurred in Santa Fe, Texas. Almost 20 years later, on May 18, 2018, 10 people were murdered and another 13 were injured in Santa Fe High School right outside of Houston. Less than 2 weeks before the end of the school year, a 17-year-old gunman, Demetrius Pagortzis, stormed the high school with a pistol and a shotgun, which he smuggled under his coat. In an article from the New York Times, I found that Pagortzis was similar to the Columbine shooters, and he was supposedly very introverted and also bullied. However, if you ask me, there is no excuse on taking innocent lives. Demetrius Pagortzis massacred 10 people, 8 were students, and 2 were teachers, and injured at least 13 more. Unlike Harris and Klebold from Columbine High School, Pagortzis surrendered and was taken into custody. After at least 130 students, teachers, staff members, and family have been killed, and almost 300 more have been injured in the last 20 years, you cannot tell me that there is no way to at least reduce the number of school shootings. Now, I have put a lot of thought into some ideas on how we could reduce school shootings, so we can talk about those next. The first solution is to arm teachers, which is highly recommended by the NRA, according to the New York Times article I read over the Santa Fe massacre. Not all teachers have to be armed, but imagine if just one teacher, like maybe the principal, had a gun on each campus. Students would feel much safer knowing there is an authoritative figure on campus at all times in the case of an active shooter. The next solution is to keep security guards on campus and stand at outside entrance doors to ID the students as they come in every period. This prevents active shooters from sneaking onto campus, which is how Pagortzis accessed Santa Fe High School in May 2018. The guards should also be aware of outside guests that may be coming to the school during the day. For example, a guard should be notified that a parent is coming to a parent-teacher conference at 1:30. Then, whenever that parent shows up to the school at 1:30, then they know why that person is there and it's for a certain reason instead of just showing up. The third solution is to require students to only be able to carry clear backpacks and lunchboxes. The security guards can briefly look through the students' backpacks or lunchboxes before school, and then again if the student leaves campus and comes back. Like at my high school, our band hall is separate from our high school, so you have to walk across the parking lot to get there. So in that case, the security guards can check it when they come back. Another solution is to install metal detectors at all outside entrances. This ensures that there is no way students can smuggle weapons of any kind under their clothes like Pagortzis did at Santa Fe High School. Lastly, schools should come up with more stricter policies regarding outside guests, students leaving campus, and stuff like that. Having stricter policies would make it even harder for someone outside of school to sneak on campus and commit a mass murder. One policy example is to require that no guest can be on campus other than to pick up a student, attend a parent-teacher conference, or other reasons pre-approved by the principal, school board, or superintendent. The guests will also be ID'd and walk through the metal detector entering the high school along with the students. Guests are only allowed to stay in the office and not wander through the halls or around campus. Guests should only be allowed to bring a form of ID on school grounds and nothing else, no purses or bags of any kind. Another policy is to require that no purses or bags to be on campus except for the clear lunchboxes and backpacks for just students and teachers. Everyone else can't bring anything else. Finally, schools should not allow students that drive to go out to their car and come back unless that student is leaving and doesn't plan on returning. As you can see, there are many simple changes that can be made to schools to make schools a safer environment. Hundreds dead, hundreds injured, and thousands of students permanently scarred from horrific school shooting incidents across the United States. There are ways to greatly reduce those numbers if schools would only enforce and invest in more security. Some examples of security would be security guards, metal detectors, clear backpacks, more school policies, and even just one armed staff member on campus at all times. Of course, all of those solutions cost time, money, and patience, but I'll ask you again, what price do we put on innocent human life? Thank you.